T on one side and then, you know, F on the other side. I don't. I'm not interested in that. I'm just interested in the modalness of it. Yeah. She told me she wasn't getting it.
Okay. So 3 years.
She said I stayed up way too late at night and I don't get up early.
Dance still?
Oh, yeah.
So they have to dance at night, not worship in the morning.
Doesn't even get to the first one.
Well, maybe through you I can see.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, did we, Kathy's your
Yeah, I think we were in this congregation for a long time. Gave me my start. I sang in the first youth committee. Back in the day, in the 70s.
Where this room was here.
I think this is a different color carpet, wasn't it?
Oh,
This one was replaced.
I have rug burns from like, you know, why?
We are not happy with it. No, it's really bad because it stinks. Why not encrypt it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, were you? Yeah, I'm not even sure that I came to, I went to any conferences. Actually, my brother was over here, and he did much more than various times. He finished high school in 72. She's right now.
Oh, no, I'm talking about recently. 100 days ago, the last year.
But you put the other way back.
Yeah, I know.
Right, that's why she told me.
I was going to go be in a pickup band last Wednesday.
Ah, that's okay. It's nice to be good.
Then I see her in it.
It's not mine.
There's a lot of green here, and I have a feeling it's intended to be that way.
Okay, you did it.
I'll ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
I don't think anybody would write it. It's very fit and chic. And I heard
So much
in your writing. Very fit.
Yeah.
She's smiling and she did actually.
I was really curious about the word that she I'm really not disappointed now.
Sorry.
I'll talk to you.
How are you doing? congregation as a teenager before this room was built. And some of you may remember my mother, Dr. Laurie Stuart, who was a member of this congregation for a very long time, left maybe 8 years ago or so. Anyway, we're going to start with a chant. Some words, but you may know it. Gathered here. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour. Gathered here in one strong body. Gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Let's do that again. You can relax. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour. One strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. One more time. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour. Gathered here in one strong body. Gathered here in the struggle and the power. We got some words, so we'll do it one more time for all those people. It's 4:55, right? 3:89. 3:89? Okay. I was close. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour. Gathered here in one strong body. Gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Since we just practiced, let's do it again. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour. Gathered here in one strong body. Gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Spirit, draw near. To see the other side, to defend another people, not despite your tradition, but because of it, is the heart of pluralism.
Pluralism is no longer simply an asset or a prerequisite for progress and development. It is vital to our existence. Aga Khan 4.
We affirm the power of love to heal what is broken, to hold us together across pluralities of diverse religious practices and beliefs, to hold us when things fall apart, to grow our capacities, and to guide us as we return again and again in our families and communities to side with love. Reverend Sherry Kluho.
Welcome, new friends and old. Welcome to our shared spiritual journey. I am Kathy Cacafelli, this morning's Sunday Worship Associate, and I'd like to give you a little more background on Reverend Laurie Stuart, who already introduced herself as coming of age at the Morristown Unitarian, only Unitarian fellowship at that point. After college in 1978, she moved to the Upper Delaware River Valley and began serving the community through the publication of a local weekly community newspaper. 27 years later, she realized her journalism work was a community ministry, after which she enrolled in Starr King School for the Ministry and graduated with an MDiv in 2010. Upon receiving preliminary fellowship, she was ordained on October 1st, 2016. She is the daughter of former longtime MUF member, Miriam Stewart. We're both glad you're here this morning. We're a spiritual community that practices appreciation and acceptance. Together we work to empower each other in our spiritual growth and support each other through birth, childhood, youth, adulthood, and as cherished elders. This worship service is one way that we all learn who we are together as individuals and as individuals. Worship is a time for our spiritual practice of listening, how appropriate for today. Because we are always learning to listen, we understand if you have a need to leave suddenly for a conversation or to help someone with a need. If you're a person who gets overwhelmed by sound, stimuli, our parlor is a very quiet room where you can listen and watch the service. If you need to talk, you can watch and listen from the library. Our ushers can help you find these rooms. If children, youth, and their families have questions about our faith formation programs, Nick Walworth will be this is obviously old copy, will be happy to talk with you. And I think I saw him around in his shorts today because it's summer. You can find out more about our choir from our music director, Michael Rosen, who is not here today. Rosen. Our AV technical director also thinks he deserves a vacation, Alex West. So the board is filling in for him today. And our congregational administrator, Katie Ulick, is here most weekdays and is happy to get your emails. And Reverend Charles Laughlin is our summer minister later in the summer. We have just 2 announcements today, which is today, following our service, Bob Scott, raise your hand, and Irene Mendelson, you can raise your hand too, will have a slide presentation of their recent trip to Africa. All are welcome. And then next Sunday, July 7th, following the service, Green Earth Ministry will be showing informative videos on how to make your climate conversations more effective. It says more effective in the park. So they're showing it in the park, but your conversations can be more effective anywhere that you are.
Love is the spirit of this fellowship. The service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to love one another. So our first chant, so let me just explain. This is a reverie harp. It's in the psaltery family. It's a relatively new instrument. It was created by a music instrument company for use of being able to hand it to people who were in a hospital. It's modally tuned, and there's no rough edges. So a music thanatologist who has a big harp can hand this little harp to someone and they can play. So it's incredibly soothing. You can't hit any bad notes. It's really good. And this particular song I wrote just in the moment when I was talking to someone who really liked the work of the Power Now. So there it is. And so we'll go over it a couple times and you'll be able to pick it up. This is all there is. This is what we have. There's no time, place, but now. There's no place but here. Sorry, I messed that up. So, here we go. This is all there is. This is all there is. This is what we have. There's no place but here. There's no time. story. You may have heard this story. Good news, bad news. Who knows? Good news? Remember, participatory. Good news?
Good news.
Bad news.
Bad news.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Let's do that one more time. Good news?
Good news.
Bad news. Who knows? So there was this farmer. You might know this story. There was a farmer, and he had a horse. And one day, his horse ran away. And his neighbors said, "Oh, that's such bad news." Yeah, you could such bad news. And the farmer said, "Good news? Bad news? Who knows?" But the next day, the horse came back. And it brought a whole herd of wild horses. And the neighbors came again. And they said, "Good news!" And the farmer said, "Good news? Bad news? Who knows?" Well, his son decided that those wild horses would be very useful, so he decided he was going to try to break them and domesticate them. But when he was doing that, he fell off the horse and he broke his leg. The neighbors came again and said, "Bad news." And the farmer said, "Good news? Bad news? Who knows?" The next day, the army came, and they were going to constrict every able-bodied man in the village. But his son had a broken leg, and so therefore could not be forced to join the army. Good news? Bad news? Who knows? That's our story, and I think it kind of relates to it in one sense what we're talking about today in terms of what are you listening for?
Every Sunday, we include in our Sunday worship service a time to share and acknowledge significant life events, births, graduations, deaths, and other significant life accomplishments, losses, and changes. Not all the milestones or passages we have experienced will be shared aloud this morning, but we remember in this moment that we need not be alone. It is possible, even essential, that we share our lives with others. It is in our deepest sharing that we will all also find our greatest strengths. And we read from the gratitude card submitted too, because when we feel despair or greed, denial or anger, or even numbness or disdain, these feelings can disconnect us from ourselves and each other. Gratitude frees to celebrate what is good, and look for the good and possible in our lives. We share just a few of our many gratitudes as a reminder of the power of this spiritual practice. So, I have good news today. I have one gratitude, which I believe is from Phyllis Messias, who says, "Thank you to all the student volunteers that helped me with my demo lesson. Thank you isn't enough. Love, Phyllis." And I have one milestone. Many of us are familiar with the Donaldson family, and this is their milestone. Because the Donaldsons apparently don't like to or know how to follow instructions, we would love to share with you that our daughter, Brynlyn Joy Donaldson, was born on Friday, June 28th at 11:23 p.m. She weighs 6 pounds and is 18 inches long. She and her brother are 7 weeks, 2 hours, and 23 minutes apart. Everyone is doing well. Candace's water broke Friday morning, and despite us briefly thinking we had an additional 3 weeks before her arrival, it was quickly established, again for us, that these kids couldn't care less about the plans we had made for them. And on that joyful note, may we just share a moment of silent meditation, reflecting on anything that may not have been shared publicly, on anything that was shared publicly, and reminding ourselves that we are an inclusive community where we strive to achieve acceptance, encouragement, and compassion. And a moment of silence. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. And now is the time for our offertory. This morning we will be sharing 50% with our community and with the UU's Siding with Love campaign. And instructions for how to give are in the online order of service and in your printed order of service. And of course the ushers will be coming around for those who want to give during service.
Musical introduction to my sermon, I wanted to do this chant with you. We're going to start in the major, and we're going to move to the minor. And so your job is to sing along. And if you could change all those 4s to 2s, that would be great. But if you don't, that's okay too. So, so your job is to kind of pay attention whether there's any change for you, whether we're singing in the major or whether we're singing in the minor. And in order to kind of make it so that I can change instruments, I'm going to instruct you to start clapping the rhythm while I put this instrument down and hit that one up. So
that change with the twos, right? To the waters of the world, we thank you. To the waters of the world, we bow. To the waters of the world, we pledge our protection. To the waters of the world, we send our love. Let's do that again. To the waters of the world, we thank you. To the waters of the world, we bow. To the waters of the world, we pledge our protection. To the waters of the world, we send our love. Ready? To the waters of the world, we thank you. To the waters of the world, we bow. To the waters of the world, we pledge our protection. To the waters of the world, we send our love. Again. To the waters of the world, we thank you. To the waters of the world, we bow. To the waters of the world, we pledge our protection. To the waters of the world, we send our love. To the waters of the world, we thank you. To the waters of the world, we bow. To the waters of the world, we pledge our protection. To the waters of the world, we send our love. One more time, smile. To the waters of the world, we thank you. To the waters of the world, we bow. To the waters of the world, we pledge our protection. To the waters of the world, we send our love. To the waters of the world, we send our love. What are we listening for? I don't know about you, but I'm bone tired. I am on edge with the news, starvation in Gaza, starvation in Sudan, a lack of confidence in our national elections, environmental laws being dismantled, our institutions are crumbling, our trust in the solidness and the stability of our lives and the lives around us, particularly for people with less means and a marginalized identity, are all shaken. We are that polar bear on the iceberg. Or not. We are experiencing a great leap in our understanding of the universe as a series of self-sustaining systems that work in collaboration with each other.
We are moving from the mechanical view of life to one of complexity theory. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Neil Thies. My mom was the one who turned me on to this. He has a new book, Notes on Complexity, that lays out how science is showing how complex systems behave and explains the interconnectedness of all things. We are indeed falling apart and coming together in the same moment. So how do we hold these two realities? Thies tells a story about a breakthrough in his thinking. He's a Buddhist, a student of Buddhism, and he was looking at some incense one day and saying, what is incense? Is it the smoke? Is it the ash? Is it the core? What is incense? He also thought about that classic image where you've got two faces looking at each other, which also you have a vase, right? You're familiar with that image? Well, oh, by the way, you can't see them both at the same time. You see one, you see the other, you can switch really fast, but you cannot see them at the same time. And that kind of, in my mind, brought up this idea of pluralism. Pluralism is more than a both and. It is recognizing that people of different classes, religion, and races are together in the society, but they continue to have their own different traditions and interests. And I think it calls on us to understand, what are we listening for? I hope you had the experience by singing that chant to the waters, in nature, which is, kind of evokes a kind of happiness. And then the minor, which really kind of connects you to a slightly different emotion. So, more about pluralism. I was very fortunate when I went to seminary to learn about Ana Lucia. Ana Lucia was the Iberian Peninsula from 711 to 1492. And through a pilgrimage, I traveled to Turkey, where we were to study the intersections of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. And there I learned that there had been this place that for 800 years was a pluralistic society. It was known for the Islamic rule, and it was characterized by a diverse population that included Muslims, Christians, and Jews. And this diversity contributed to such diverse cultural, intellectual, and artistic exchanges during the Middle Ages. It is actually what birthed the Renaissance. The pluralistic nature of Ana Lucia fostered an environment of intellectual exchange and cooperation among people of different cultures and backgrounds. And this diversity allowed scholars from different traditions to collaborate and build on each other's work. During that time, advances were made to trigonometry, astronomy, surgical techniques, pharmacology, mathematics, and agriculture. Numerous inventions emerged, including navigational and mechanical instruments, mechanical toys, eyeglasses, aqueducts, and bridges. They were the early civil engineers who figured out how to move water from one place to another. And interestingly enough, there is, if you ever go to North Carolina by Merrill's Cove, there is a wonderful, wonderful garden called Brook Green Gardens. And they are, which is the biggest American sculpture garden. It's just the most gorgeous thing. Anyway, they have ponds that have sculptures that, are fountains, and they are moving the water using those same ideas that came during that time, so long ago. And so this society flourished from 711 AD to 1492, when Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand expelled all the Jews and the Muslims and did birth the Renaissance in Europe. This is the power of pluralism, understanding that each division of people, each tradition, each culture, each person has something to offer to the emergent life. Like we are familiar with 1492 when Christopher Columbus sailed in search of India and ended up in North America. But we're not familiar with the background. Our history does not tell the stories of pluralism. Our history tells the stories of concord and power. But what we know a couple of things from Anna Lucia. If a large group of population lived together for 8 centuries, there's probably not a whole lot of purity left in the world. Just saying. But we also know that pluralism works. So, on a personal level, what does this mean? For me, and maybe for you. It means you don't have to decide who's right. You have an array of perspectives to imagine, which gives you the opportunity to calm down, and maintain your own equilibrium if somebody is pushing up against your worldview. And the other thing that it really does help you do is it helps you know your own opinions and views. So practicing pluralism. How do we practice pluralism? And that kind of brings me back to what are we listening for? How are we listening? In the sermon introduction, we experienced being in the major and the minor, how it evoked different emotions for us, and that we ourselves can hold 2 things at the same time, right? Good news, bad news, who knows? When I was also in seminary, I was very fortunate to be introduced to the Reverend Peter Pan. And he is an inter-religious scholar. Comes from the Catholic tradition. But what he said was that you have to listen. And with the attitude that you are open to conversion. Right? He got into a lot of trouble for a while with that attitude, but he persisted. So somehow, if you're willing to be changed by your experience and relationship, we often think that our own specific tradition is diminished, and this is simply not true. I was very, very fortunate to grow up in this congregation. And in my day, this is before the 7 principles, right? What we were taught was that there was multitudes, there were a lot of ways to get to truth and what we hold in our hearts. But that many traditions think that there's only one way, but that we knew that there was lots of ways. So that when I was in grade school and someone said, what religion are you? And I go, Unitarian, they go, what? I don't know. And I always felt affirmed. They were being their religion, and I was being mine. And actually the idea that many paths to truth and that we can all kind of get to a place of civic and civil dialogue is actually what fuels my desire to work as a publisher of a weekly community newspaper. I do believe that when people who do not get along concentrate on local important issues, better solutions will be found by that interaction, right? And that's actually part of the idea of the theory of complexity. We used to think that life was a mechanical experience, but now science is opening up to that life is a series of self-sustaining systems that are fundamentally interconnected and responsive to each other. This system works all the way down. Our cells, our molecules, atoms, into the quantum foam, quarks, quantum foam, quantum vacuum. It's all connected. And there is no one entity actually telling anyone, or any of those cells, or any of those ants that form a line, or any of the birds that fly in flocks. This is because we are all interconnected and in relationship with everything that is around us. They do make room for adaptation. Adaptation is that one ant kind of going around the obstacle and finding a different path. That's how they, it's not random, but you have the one. If there's too much of that, you do have chaos. But in complexity theory, they are allowing for adaptation to one small thing happening, and then that leads to another place. So, which is all to say, we are not of the universe. We are the universe. And I think that that's very positive, right? In the midst of all of our systems, our human-made systems falling apart, the idea that actual life is self-sustaining and collaborative, and how do we then align ourselves with that? What are we listening for? So we are beginning to understand how systems of interacting entities, whether it's people walking down the street in a city, whether it's ants in an ant colony, whether it's birds in a flock, or cells in our bodies, we are all organizing ourselves into larger structures, not because anybody has planned it, but because the local interactions between that gives rise to the line of ants going for food, the patterns of people walking down the sidewalk, or a flock of birds flying together. So in that way, we are challenged to embrace pluralism as a way of being and a way of becoming. So pluralism, just kind of bringing all those pieces together, pluralism is a way of making room for others while maintaining our own and their identities. It is effective in society, as our example of Ana Lucia. There's great commonalities between pluralism and complexity theory and this whole emerging science. And complexity theory gives us the opportunity to trade our limited, individualistic view for an expansive perspective of the universe that is dynamic, cohesive, and alive. It's a whole made up of its parts in very, very, very deep interconnection and relationship. So we're going to put that all into words for music, songs. All is unity. No one is
able to separate one from another. No one is able to separate one from another. No one is able to separate one from another. No one is able to separate one from another. All is unity. All is unity. Two more times on that. All is unity. All is unity. Let's start with the beginning. No one is able to separate one from another. No one is able to separate one from another. All is unity. All is unity. We are unity. We are unity. Start over. No one is able to separate one from another. No one is able to separate one from another. All is unity. All is unity. We are unity. We are unity. All is unity, no one is separated. All is unity, no one is separated. All is unity. All is unity. Our benediction is by Black Elton Ugala Sue, and he has written, or spoke, everything in power of the world is done in a circle. The sky is round, and I have heard the earth is round like a ball, and so are the staffs. The wind in its greatest power whirls. Birds make their nests in circles, for theirs is the same religion as ours. The sun comes forth and goes down again in a circle. Even the seasons form a great circle in their changing, and always come back again to where they were. The life of a person is a circle from childhood to childhood, and so is everything else where power moves. And now let us go forth from this circle in peace, remembering and celebrating the many circles of our lives. May we go and serve those circles in all that we do, bearing witness to the completeness of this circle of love, so that those of us in whom love is a stranger may find in us
generous friends. I really enjoyed thinking about coming here and being a part. And it is very interesting because all Unitarian Universalist congregations have like a different, they have a different culture, right? I mean, it's kind of, we're very pluralistic probably, you know, in how we run our congregations. And it's actually, I was very heartened that Article 2 passed, and pluralism is like right there. So we are really a living tradition, and so that's great. So one of the things that was interesting is in your service, Kathy was really very generous in kind of cluing me in to like how the service goes. So your opening music, if you want people to like sing the words, it's called a postlude.
Prelude.
Prelude.
If you want people to listen, it's
But if you don't want people to listen, it's called gathering music, right? But it happens the same at the end, right? If you want people to sing, you call it a postlude. And if you want people to just get up and chat, you call it exit music. Okay. So before I knew all this, I wanted our last song to be a song by Leah Morris. And so she starts this song out by tapping on her chest. And the words go, you gotta keep your heart wide open to the waves gonna push you around. You gotta keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. So there's hand movements, right? You gotta keep your heart wide open, though the waves gonna push you around. I thought we could like turn around, right? Because I thought this was exit music. You would sing it as you were leaving, right? Almost like a conga line.
We can do that.
So anyway, so why don't you stand up and we'll practice the hand movements. So as you're walking out and doing this, don't hit anybody. You gotta keep your heart wide open, though the waves gonna push you around. You gotta keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. Anytime you want to start walking, you can. You gotta keep your heart wide open, though the waves gonna push you around. You gotta keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. You gotta keep your heart wide open, though the waves gonna push you around. You gotta keep your heart wide open till your face brings you back to solid ground. You gotta keep your heart wide open, though the waves gonna push you around. You gotta keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. I did actually now, but I grew up in this community. The Morristown Y had a sleepaway camp.
No, I just remember seeing that in McDonald's. Right, I don't think you could ever count on the majority of people having done the video thing. You never know who's walking on Sunday, who's ready to email last, who's nothing like that.
Or you can have a pod. You can have a pre-service session. And if you want to come 10, 15 minutes ahead of time, it's only an announcement, maybe before the other race. You can have enough effect through 5 times. And we can understand because this is,
Right, right.
an element of opportunity the sneaker has to see this.
Sessions, I've been experimenting with ways.
You know, one thing that's happened that's really good, that is that, in other words, quietly the
But
path.
I forget. Always a
That also enhances
or like during the meditation.
it's a little bit of just, that was the situation that I So how hard is it to do the camera? Tom asked me to do that.
We don't do this in synagogue. I watch the news and I'm like, Marcy Peterson on it.
You know more about the reason. There's an apple and a big
So I quit button, I get done with
you have 5 cameras.
And just for one other thing, everything else is going on to the own precinct. So and one precinct is not here.
Oh, just wanted to touch base on the whole communication. Yeah. So, More has an idea for you and I have some.
First of all, you're right about what a lot of the business doesn't go back. You're right. Second thing is, this is the image you were
It's a face space.
Third thing is that, I was able to apply your reference on the video. Good thing for because a couple of things that you have to work on is economic benefits. The line is the one that goes out, it gives you no idea. Pretty yes, we call it a pre-service.
I couldn't say, I don't know. We did that well, I mean, I did show her a couple of those, but I realized, choices. Yeah, it's very He's here.
I've been, I guess it was last anniversary, 70th. So anyway, I introduced some of the families.